The following is a presentation of KSL Sports. First and 12. A total roundup of BYU and Utah football and the expanded Big 12 Conference. Subscribe to the First and 12 podcast. Your hosts are Mitch Harper and Alex Kirry on KSL News Radio.
Yes, welcome on in, everybody. It is another edition, another week in the books, if you can stink and believe it, how fast these football seasons go by. We are now into week 10 of college football. Almost everybody has got 8 games in the books, if not more. Almost everybody has gone through at least 2 bye weeks now at this point, which is weird. You got the rare 3 bye weeks if you went over to Ireland to start off your season. But welcome into the show. There's no bye weeks for us. Mitch Harper, Alex Kirry, thanks for being with us on the program. Yes, all things in the Big 12 with our First and 12 program. Mitch, what's up, man? You've had quite the week out in Kansas City with Big 12 basketball media days. Then you took the trip up the road. I'm assuming you took a hand cart all the way up to Iowa, however it is that you get. Everybody who texted and talked about Iowa State, they said that was a long trip to get to, Mitch.
It was a hard trip to get to in Ames, but hey, the heart of Big 12 country. It was great. I enjoyed being there in Kansas City and got my Big 12 New Era hat rocking here in the studio today.
Look at that. There's a man of the conference now.
Yep, man of the conference. I feel like I had to. It's a different league in this Big 12.
I think we know people who get like the ACC tattoo and you go, what are we doing? What are we doing?
I will say with Ames, Iowa State, it was a good scene. I think it kind of highlighted to me that the Big 12, they've got some underrated venues. Might be tricky to get to, but, man, you get some fired-up crowds that are tough places to win. And I think it's almost this it's hard to describe the challenges of winning in these venues that really this conference, not many teams will come out of these venues with a win.
Right.
And so it's an underrated aspect to the league that there are really some good home environments that when they get energized, when they're sold out, that was the case at Iowa State, and it was a fun atmosphere. I thought it was one of the best atmospheres I've seen in my Big 12 travels. It was really fun to be there in Ames.
That ended up being our Big 12 game of the week, and so let's jump in right here and let's talk about it and chop it up. One of the most exciting ones across the land of college football all last week as well. Let's get right to it.
The big time Big 12 game of the week on First and 12.
BYU taking down Iowa State, 41-27. I thought after the first quarter that, again, like we talked about a couple weeks ago with BYU being down against Arizona, I think it was, that, well, it's not BYU's day. They're done. LJ Martin's in the medical tent. He's now going to the locker room, down 17-7, but BYU always finds a way. Johnny on the spot. The Cougars always make plays happen to get it done and swing the momentum their way.
At what point do you give the respect that Kalani and his coaches have? I mean, they just seem to do this. And by the way, we were having the same conversation, I think, last year at some point about Jake Retzlaff, a totally different quarterback. You go, I don't know how they keep doing this. I don't know how they keep eking these wins out. Another crazy win in Provo for Jake Retzlaff. Another wild, close game. These are not blowouts. These aren't games that you think are going to go a certain way, and then they do. Bear Bachmeier continues to impress as a freshman quarterback. You're right, LJ Martin leads the conference in total rushing yards before the game, leads the conference in from scrimmage yards, and he goes out, and you're thinking, well, what's the option that they have? It's not like another running back came in and everybody goes, oh, they got reintroduced to a different guy. They could not run the stinking ball, handing it off to somebody out of the backfield. And Iowa State, by the way, you talk about the crowd getting fired up there. That very first play of the game, they absolutely came out firing, and it was just one play and 65 yards, and it was a touchdown, and it was insanity. They showed that. I always love when the camera can't really get totally set after a touchdown like that, because the whole stadium is just shaking. They're in their full blacks, which I love. The black helmet, the black jersey, the black pants with all the white script on it. And then everybody in the stands, of course, are in red and black. It was just a scene, and I went, I don't care what you say, that was a wild play. BYU gave up, after they start talking about how great this BYU defense is, and we can get to that at some point, they turn out to be not that great. However, they stick around. Bear Bachmeier keeps them in this thing. He uses the throw game to be able to get BYU back into this thing. And Rocco Beck shrunk. As soon as it started to get tough, he started to have He got shaky, throws the pick six, of course, ends up with 3 interceptions on the day. But more weird thing, Mitch, to me was that BYU did, with a freshman quarterback, figure out a way to make those adjustments at the half when they were able to get the stops. What was wild was, and Iowa State should have taken a little bit of a look and gone, we're in more trouble here. We're not actually doing great. You know why? We're outgaining this team, almost doubling them up the entire game. And when BYU got that last score before the half, and it was 24-17, and they were getting the ball first in the second half, I thought, well, now hold on a minute. This team should not be hanging around. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. Winning close games is a learned skill. Keeping games close so you can have that opportunity is also a learned skill. And BYU, for some reason, has been able to do it with 2 different quarterbacks at 2 different years.
That trailing only 7 at the half was huge for BYU. I thought the game turned when Logan Latui gets the interception off Rocco Becht. Rocco Becht threw 3 interceptions in this game, but BYU,
they were all bad, by the way. They were just terrible throws. They were not to any space where one of his guys could have been the one to make that play first.
They were bad throws, and this Iowa State team right now, they were improved, I thought, from how they played against Colorado to that BYU game, but I still think they're a team that had all these little slight miscues where back overthrows to Carson Hansen in the first half. That left points on the board. In the second half, you have the receiver that wide open on third down inside the red zone to Flora. He drops it. I mean, they left a lot of points on the board, and that's where you could say, did BYU get a little bit lucky? But they also had playmakers like a Falatau Satuala, Big 12 Defensive Player of the Week. That pick six, he knew what was coming. He was always prepared. And this defense for BYU, it seems like it's a common theme, but the players always say, we saw this on film in the given week. We knew what was coming. That's a testament and credit to Jay Hill, how ready he gets his defensive guys. I do think that BYU's had some leaks in recent weeks in stopping the run. Carson Hansen, I thought, was excellent against BYU, but BYU always finds a way. And the thing is, too, is that when BYU gets the momentum, you think of the muff punt, or where it hit the back of the Iowa State player's foot. BYU 3 plays later, touchdown. They always pounce when the momentum swings their way. They're an opportunistic team, and that's why BYU's 8-0 heading into a bye week.
Even the Latui moment where he has the pick, you were like, yeah, that's fine, but they keep getting stopped on offense.
And then Iowa State scored the next possession. Like, yeah, that's just
right.
They're going to move forward.
But what was interesting was they went down and they at least got the field goal, the 50-yarder from Farron, right? They go, hey, all right, well, so
big kick for him too.
And yeah, he needed it, right? And so you go, look, all right, instead of it being 17-7 still, it was 17-10, and then that afforded you to kind of just, hey, you're hanging around. You're hanging around. Iowa State is interesting because now they're 5-3. Arizona State is also 5-3. The 2 teams who went to the Big 12 championship game this year are essentially probably out, right? I mean, we're talking about they're not in the conversation right now. And we have another year where the Big 12 championship game is going to present you with 2 totally different opponents than you had seen in years past. You're not going to see a streak of a bunch of different. Look, Kenny Dillingham said it at Big 12 Media Day a million times. He's like, do not call us the coach, or don't call us the reigning champs. We have not done a thing this year. He knows how hard it is to win week in and week out. And it's just, I'm telling you, Iowa State is going down this same path. They've lost 3 games in a row. And it's an absolute gut punch when you come out of your bye week. You've been preparing for this team who's coming in. They're coming off of an emotional win at home over their rival the week before. You have the advantage because it's at home. And it's shocking to me that the Big 12 is still having all these teams that are so talented. And one year you'll go 8-0, and the next year you'll go 5-3, and it's essentially the same team. It's just the bounce of the ball. It's just the one game here and there, the one opponent who will nick you. Iowa State and Arizona State are both 5-3 right now, and neither of them are likely to go to the Big 12 championship game. That's wild to consider.
And it's wild that BYU is becoming maybe one of the more consistent teams and programs in this crazy wide-open Big 12. BYU now 19-2 since last season. They've been excellent at winning games, and Bear Bachmeier, I think, is much better than Jake Retzlaff to this point. And look, I was skeptical to see a true freshman to start this year, but Bear Bachmeier has been excellent for BYU, too. To think of they were one-dimensional. The reserve running backs that they had after L.J. Martin, they didn't put any fear into Iowa State. But the injury woes that Iowa State had going in, where they lost their 2 top cornerbacks, that reared its ugly face because BYU was throwing the ball with ease, and Bear Bachmeier had an excellent day. And now you can't just stack the box on BYU and win games. Bear has done it a couple times now, throwing the football for more than 300 yards. And that's a good thing for BYU because the opponents are only going to continue to get tougher. I think that's been the talking point so much about BYU, but that was a huge win following up the rivalry victory over Utah, where you're thinking rivalry let down, BYU steps up and gets that win. It was a huge spot for the Cougars, and they are undefeated, flying high after that big win in Ames. Let's take our first break. On the other side, we'll get to headlines around the conference. Here on First and 12, Alex Kirry, Mitch Harper, here on KSL News Radio.